What's happening, guys? This is Matt from Last Chance Bait and Tackle, Tackle.com, and Last Chance Performance Marine. You may be wondering why last week you didn't see a Periscope for Tackle.com. Well, we're going in our summer schedule right now with the shop. A lot of stuff's happening on the lakes, a lot of stuff's happening on the ocean. We're not going to be able to get to doing these Periscopes every single Monday night. So we've come up with an idea where we're probably going to do them every 2 weeks or so. So twice a month we'll be doing a Periscope. And we're going to do one maybe on talking about just baits, and the other one's going to be more of a tutorial. Obviously, we want to show you in our shop where, what we have, what we're doing on the lake, all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to cut our Periscope shorter than our typical 30 minutes to an hour. Because obviously, you guys don't want to sit on your phone for an hour watching us blab about a type of tactic, or showing you colors or this, that, and the other. So we're going to kind of keep them tailored down to that 15 to maybe 20-minute mark, giving you enough pieces of the puzzle to go out there and use these tools on the water and help you catch some more fish. So as many of you guys know right now through Facebook, through Instagram, and social media, I've really been pumping up this underspin bite out at Diamond Valley, our local lake. And this is a tactic that can often be used throughout the country. In the summer months, as fish move off the bank, they're going to get on bait schools down in deeper water. This may be back in the East Coast as well as it happens on the West Coast. So I'm dealing with offshore bait school fish on Diamond Valley. Now, a lot of you guys know Diamond Valley. Okay, we have baby bass, we have bluegill, we have silver size, and we have that super mysterious threadfin shad, which are out there right now. So I'm using the underspin to get those fish to react to these baits. So I'm going to take you over to this underspin over here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it, and I'm going to show you that you don't only have to use the stuff that I'm actually telling you guys on Facebook. The reason why I say that is when I'm fishing out there right now in Diamond Valley, I fell in love with one specific style of underspin, and that right here is the Blade Runner Spin Tricks right here. It's a very, very, very nice underspin in the fact that it incorporates a much larger hook than your typical underspins. As I'm fishing 4.8 to 5 inch, even 6 inch baits on the back of this thing, if I go and take a smaller underspin, something like this guy, like a Swarming Hornet fish head spin, or even a cool bait, my hook is going to be so much smaller on these baits. These are very, very, very good if I'm dealing with smaller fin bait forage. But because I'm trying to imitate that larger stuff, that bluegill, that baby bass, that kind of good stuff, I want to opt for something that I can incorporate a bigger bait on there. So I favor these right now, and I'm throwing a lot of heavier sizes. I'm throwing a lot of 3/8, half ounce, and 3/4 sizes. You're hearing me talk about that kind of stuff, and you're going, really? What's he doing with that? Well, because my fish right now, the batches of fish that I'm targeting, are moving off the bank. They're out in that 25 to 30 foot zone. I need a bait I can get down. When I incorporate a boot tail type trailer, it's restricting the flow of that bait moving through the water column. It's slowing down the bait as it falls. So I need a bait that's heavier, an underspin that's heavier in order to force that tail and that bait down. Because not only do I have that boot tail, but I have that blade on the bottom that's restricting the way that bait's swimming. So I have to opt for that 3/8, half, 3/4. Now, obviously I'm fishing the Blade Runner baits. I'm really pushing this product because I fell in love with them. I'm catching a lot of fish. I want to share the wealth. And a lot of people are looking at me on the water and in the stores like, dude, why are you giving people everything you're doing? Well, with so many bait schools out in the open water in that lake, it's not affecting my bite at all by telling you guys how to catch these fish. The whole goal in the shop and the whole goal for myself has always been to share the wealth. As long as I get my fish, I'm happy. I want to get you guys on fish too, so I'm dumping the goods on you guys. So I've been throwing the Blade Runner underspins. Not to say that the Swarming Hornet spin in that half ounce isn't as good, because it is. I'm going to pull this one out, and I'm going to put the other one side by side. We're going to take half ounce to half ounce right now. I'm going to show you that both of these incorporate a large hook. And a lot of guys are going, oh man, you're out of Blade Runner bait. Well, you have other options. Now, obviously, the one on the bottom is your Swarming Hornet fish head spin, incorporating probably like a 4/0 hook, whereas the Blade Runner is a 5/0 hook. Both these particular baits and these underspins will accept a 4.5 to 5 inch bait with ease. And all you got different is obviously you see the blade size is different, but it's not too much to really disturb the natural action of the bait. Both are baby bass color. This may be a little bit lime and grain. That's a little bit darker, but essentially they're the same exact bait. And that's one thing a lot of people grieve about when they fish on these lakes. They think they have to have the exact bait that the next guy uses. Well, tell you straight up that if I ran out of a Blade Runner bait right here, I know for damn well sure I can put the Swarming Hornet bait on there and catch the same batch of fish. Why? Well, it's the same weight, it's got roughly the same blade, and it's roughly the same color. I can still fish that heavier or that larger trailer on it, and I can still get down to the depth. Very, very effective. And there's a lot of different things. And one thing that's going to be, for me, that I do, and I don't care what the next guy really says, I'm going to find my own bite with these underspins right here. I knew a lot of guys early on when Diamond Valley first opened, they were really relating to smaller underspins. 1/8 ounce, 3/16 ounce, they were selling the cool bait underspin. One of the best ones that I fished. Very, very good bait. But with me, as I've told you guys in the past, I'm not much of a finesse angler. I always believe in looking for 5 big bites. So I had to make that particular bite my own. So I went out with a larger trailer and found my outside the box thinking, fishing these little bit larger baits. So if I'm dealing with small fin bait forwards, let's say I'm dealing with inland silver sides or tiny bluegill, I'm going to opt for a smaller underspin. If Megan can come over here and I can show her, the Swarming Hornet fish head spins. Been around a long time. They're the originator with this whole thing next to the Blakemore Roadrunner. Actually, Blakemore's been out a lot longer. But these guys right here kind of put it on the map with a fin bait forage underspin. Now, that's a good bait. If I'm dealing with smaller bait fish, I have options. I can go into smaller baits, just like this. Whereas you got, cool baits right here. Smaller bait type underspin. It can accept a 4-inch bait on there, and there's some new things in the future in store for cool baits, and I'm very, very excited about. He's coming out with a 3/8 ounce underspin. Now, for me, that's huge because I like throwing bigger baits. Like I said, I'm throwing larger baits. By him coming out with a 3/8 ounce underspin, look for him in the shop in the near future. We're very, very excited about that kind of thing. But a lot can be said about all the different types. You have the triple shad right here. A local guy out of the San Diego area, Cameron Smith, created a bait. If I can get it out of here. He created a bait. I'm going to pull it out here. That's an underspin with 3 blades on it, just like that. Now, those of you that like to throw the spinnerbait know about the quad blade by Booyah. One of the best spinnerbaits for slow rolling deeper in the water column. It's got 4 blades on it, obviously, quad blade. Well, now you got an underspin with 3 blades. Now, for the longest time, I hated this particular bait. I had an issue with it rolling. I thought that, it was a 1-speed, or it was a fast retrieve type bait. I was having this thing spin up on its side, thinking, okay, there's blades on the bottom. Well, if you slow the bait down, it actually works the way it's intended. And for me, I was just being a little stupid. I was fishing it too quick when I should have slowed down. That's my biggest problem. Fish too fast. But this is another option right now when dealing with smaller fin bait forage. Now, just to give you options, what I'm kind of getting at is when you're fishing, when you hear about these bites, especially this bite that I'm dealing with right here, or say you're fishing the East Coast, when you guys talk about, like, let's say underspin fishing, don't feel that you have to have the exact bait the next guy's using. Think outside the box. Do a little bit things different. Blakemore up here, these guys, they've created their own. They actually give you tails in them. Really cool little baits. It's got everything you need, and you don't have to use this bait. You can put a Kitech Easy Shiner on the back of that thing. Very, very effective. And I'm not going to talk about technique-wise with this kind of stuff. I just want to show you that there's more options. I've done an article in Western Outdoor News recently talking about how this time of year I'll often go in search of moving forage. Look for those bluegill, those baby bass, those silverside schools. And an underspin has always been a good trick of mine, whether I talked about it or not. It's kind of like one of those embarrassing things. I've always been a swim bait guy, always been a big bait guy, all that kind of stuff, where you see me throwing a little underspin, it's like, what the heck's Matt doing over there throwing this little tiny dinky bait? But it's always been an important tool, and there's a lot more options than just what I'm throwing. I'm pumping up the Blade Runner. I'm doing that because I'm fishing larger baits. And I'm going to take you over to our swim bait section over here where the Kitech baits are. And I want to show you a little bit about this boot tail craze right now. Obviously, everybody knows about the Kitech brand. You got your Easy Shiners, you got your Swing Impacts, you got your Swing Impact Fats. You got all that kind of good stuff, all different sizes from that 2-inch size all the way up to that almost 6-inch size. Well, as you can tell, I want Megan to show you a picture of this right here. That's a pretty sad Kitech wall. The biggest thing I see when I see this right here is the fact that people are afraid to change. Okay? Kitech baits are excellent baits. I'm throwing the crap out of them right now, and I'm doing very well with them. But think about it. What is this bait? It's a soft plastic boot tail swim bait. Okay, if I'm on the lake and I'm targeting these fish relating to, let's say, I'm going to say shad, and or actually baby bass, I'm going to pull out silver flash minnow right here. Good little baby bass imitation. When I look at that bait right here, I'm going to take you around to this back side. We got an empty side right here because we sell so much of this Kitech stuff. We got this side over here that's absolutely full. Okay, what is the deal here, guys? You're looking at a boot tail bait versus a boot tail bait. I'm going to take, let's pull out this one right here. We're going to pull out a Bullfrog Reaction Innovation Skinny Dipper right here. Okay, let's look at this bait for a second. Got a round body to it, and we got a boot tail on the back end. Now, that's kind of cool. It's a boot tail swim bait. That might work. Look at this guy right here. Round body bait with a boot tail. Now, how is this particular bait going to catch any more fish than this bait right here? You can't tell me it will. So the whole thing is you need to think outside the box when you're fishing this. I may be pumping up a Kitech bait, but if you can't find Kitech, realize that there's other options out there. Reaction Innovation dippers are some of the best baits. You get a lot of them in a pack for your money. You're talking $5, a little over $5. You get a boot tail that's great on the chatterbait, great on the underspin, which I'm fishing right now. Great on basically fishing a weedless, a weighted weedless hook. Very, very good type deal. You got Bass Tricks. The spin tricks that I'm throwing, he made those to fish with Bass Trick style swim baits. He actually made his own, but I'm going to pull out a bait like this.
Which we finally got these in.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm actually going to do a suicide mission in the hopes that you basically get yelled at. I'm going to show you. There's a boot tail bait right there. When everybody's freaking out about Kitech, how is that bait any different? Yes, it's got two eyeballs, but it's got a boot tail. It's like, oh, those eyeballs are you ain't gonna catch any fish because it's got eyes. I mean, that's not real or nothing. Just telling you guys. You need it to look not real. So anyway, when you're picking baits and stuff for the underspin right now, I see it a lot right now. I'm pumping these baits out because I have zero fear of telling people what I'm doing on the water. If it doesn't interfere with my own fishing, my own spots, whatever, I have no spots on the lake. It's a public lake. If it's not interfering with anything, I have no issues with telling you, hey, use this. So I'll pump these baits out, and I always end up having this happen. I talk about a bait that I like to use, and I should know better, but everybody's going to buy that bait I'm talking about. So I'm left with nothing to buy for myself in the shop. So it's like, I always end up going, okay, well, I know in the back of my head, if I got bit on this thing right here, all I got to do is kind of go look down the wall and go, okay, what is close? I may take this color right here. This one right here, Money Shot Green. When you look at this common color, say I am fishing silver flash minnow. I got a little bit of pearl. I got some green flag. I got some gold flag. I look at this bait right here. Yes, it is a lighter color bait, but when I hold it up right here, there's no reason why they're not going to eat that color versus this color. So you have to be able to think outside the box and realize that fish aren't as smart as we think they are. They're reaction fish when we're dealing with an underspin, which I am right now. So I'm going to go down the lake. I'm going to trigger these fish's instincts into biting. I'm fishing so quick, and with these bass, especially on Diamond Valley or any bait school fish, there may be a big bait pod right there. Those fish aren't going to come up to your bait, stare at it, and go, no, I don't want to eat that thing. I'm going to bail out. Yes, you will get tough days on the water, but 90% of the time, if you trigger those fish into reacting, you can get them to go. But if you come over here, I want to show you a new bait that we brought in. This is the Jackal Rhythm Wave. Pretty stoked on this particular bait right here. Let me actually move over here. I'm going to show you two baits side by side. Now, the color that I've been really jamming on Diamond right now has been called Smallmouth Magic. And I have absolutely zero problem telling you guys, as I've said a million times before, this is my absolute favorite color. Just for the simple fact, it's a good little bluegill color bait. It's a greenback with blue flake with a pearl, or like a grayish smoky belly. So when I saw that, I ran out and told everybody that I was using those 3.8s or those 3.8s, the 4.8 Kitech Swing Impact Fats, I was going, oh crap, I just shot myself in the foot because now I only have one bag left. I have to think outside the box. So with Kitech, I don't even know if you can get these open. This is where fat fingers don't work. Okay, so when I saw this bait right here, I'm looking at that belly of that thing going, okay, well, it's a bluish belly. I got some flake to it. It's somewhat of a watermelon green pumpkin back right there. That is not too far off from this color right here. I'm going to see if, I don't know if it'll pick it up on Periscope, but those two colors are very, very similar to me.
This looks like the smallmouth.
They're both, it's a Smallmouth Magic. Yeah, it's just a little bit lighter in color. That's a little bit darker back. If you're fishing this thing on a fairly fast retrieve, you're burning that bait in, ripping it, twitching it, those fish aren't going to really be able to tell that, hey, that one's a little bit lighter on the back. They're just seeing boot tail, they're seeing flash, they're seeing your underspin more than anything. They're seeing that blade. So don't be afraid to sit there and go, like, you know what, everybody else on this body of water is fishing this color. Matt blew up the bite. I get that all the time. Matt blew up the bite even though I told him.
Somebody just said stay off his bite.
Yeah, half the time I'm telling everybody what to fish, and they don't remember that. But the whole thing is, I'll pump this bite up. I don't even care. So it's like, you got a bite like this, everybody's throwing this because I blew it up. I'm notorious, right? I don't care. I blew this thing up. What are you going to do different to make those fish react if they shut down on this? Are you going to sit there and milk this bite altogether? Are you going to dump it and say, they didn't need that underspin anymore. I'm not getting bit. You got to constantly adapt to these fish. I actually turned a very, very good friend of mine, longtime fisherman of mine, onto a bite at Diamond Valley. I told him exactly what I was doing, exactly my setup spot. I told him, you want to line up in this creek channel, make that bomber cast out to deep water. He didn't get bit on what I was telling him to do. He's going like, what the heck, dude? I fished it for like 30 minutes on the same spot you told me you're railing fish on. He's sitting there going like, dude, what the hell? He told me the story. And he's all, I had to change it up. I threw a different bait on the same batch of fish, and they reacted. I'm catching a lot of fish on this bait right here, on the bigger bait, with that underspin. I'm doing extremely well. I'm catching a lot of fish in that 4-pound up to 7-pound range on an otherwise tough fishing lake right now in Diamond Valley. So you have to realize in the back of your head, if you're going out there, you're fishing the bite I'm telling you to fish. It may be the underspin. Think outside the box. Just twist the colors up to find your own bite within that bite. You might throw a darter head. You might throw a drop shot, all this kind of stuff. But the whole purpose of this Periscope is to kind of teach you guys, think outside that box. Think differently. I'm throwing an underspin. I urge you guys to throw that on offshore suspended fish like we're dealing with right now across the nation.
With what pound test?
With what pound test? That's a tricky question right there because I'm going to give you a couple different scenarios with it. Okay, obviously I'm going to talk to you a little bit about braid, mono, and fluoro. As you guys know, what does braid do? It floats. Okay. What does mono do? It slowly sinks. It's kind of a more neutrally buoyant type line. Fluorocarbon sinks. So depending on the depth I'm targeting with these underspins, I'm going to manipulate my line type and size. Okay, one big thing for me is I've been hovering around that 25-foot mark. Well, if I'm throwing in 25 foot of water with a 3/4 ounce underspin, that thing's going to sink like a rock. It's arguably, okay, it's going to sink like a rock with fluorocarbon. I'm throwing a lot of 15 to 16-pound monofilament when I'm fishing this way. Why so heavy? Well, I'm playing on the line itself. I want to throw that heavier head to get down there, but I also want the buoyancy of my line to help me slow my retrieve speed down. Because if I got a bait with fluorocarbon on there, fluorocarbon's going to sink like a rock, my head's going to sink like a rock. I have to fish that bait at such a faster speed to maintain contact. Well, a lot of guys are sitting there going like, oh, dude, big dummy, why don't you drop your size of head and fish slower? Can't do that. I'm fishing a larger bait. I'm fishing a 4.8-inch size. If I drop my size of head, I reduce my hook size. So I have to fish a 3/4 ounce because it offers me the hook size needed to replicate what they're feeding on at that given time. So I had to play around with that. Braid, I didn't really like the feel of braid because as I bomb that cast out with braid, my line's going to sink, but my braid's going to float. I have too much of an arc. So as I retrieve that bait, my line and my bait are coming at an upward angle. Don't really dig it. So I opt for the monofilaments. 15 to 16-pound mono offers me the best scenario. And it's been good for me. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, don't be afraid to throw, one of my favorite baits I talk about a lot, Megabass Spark Shad. Epic bait right here. You can fish it on a weighted hook. You can fish it on the back of a chatter. You can fish it on the back of an underspin. But like I said, the whole thing started off with the underspins, and I kind of went into detail a little bit about other baits just to kind of show you that, hey, you can do whatever. All I care about is boot tail. All I care about is size, and I want to get down into that strike zone. So with these periscopes, as we're going to be starting to shorten them up, we're also going to limit it to what we're going to be talking about. We're not going to be talking about too much technique like we used to. I used to go into like an hour-long spiel about how I shake a rod and doodle a worm and all this kind of stuff. So I just wanted to show you a couple different options you have for this underspin bite. You have Swarm & Hornet, you have the Cool Bait, you have Blade Runner, you have the Triple Shad,
Noller
you have
Spin.
Noller Spin, you have the Spin Tricks by Blade Runner. A lot of different options. Don't feel that you have to throw only one. There's not only one good bait on the market. There's a lot of different ones that will suit your individual style. When it comes to baits over here, we have a lot of baits. We have your Kitech. We talk very, very highly about Kitech baits. just because they've been so good and they have so many cool colors. But what's happened is everybody thinks that the only bait, the boot-tail bait to throw is a kitech. Well, it's the only bait to throw because it's the only bait you're throwing. That's the biggest thing right there. If you only throw this bait, oh, dude, it has to be this bait. You just shut out everything else on this peg. And the best thing that I do different than most people, and a lot of people get mad at me for it, is I'm so jumpy. I'll go around to this bait. I'll go around to that bait. I'll tell you this is my favorite bait for right now. Well, it is. Because
it'll change tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm a creature. I fish the moment. I fish what the fish are doing, and I don't get caught up in brand-specific type stuff. If it's working for me, why change it? But, I'm all across the board right here. So I just want to keep it at that. If you guys have any questions about color selection, bait size, blade size, I made a comment in one of my last Facebook posts. If you're friends with me on Facebook, I said all the difference of blade makes. And a lot of people took it as spinner baits I was talking about. Now, I wasn't talking about spinner baits. I was talking about underspin blade size. That blade size has a big effect on where your bait, how much restriction is on the flow of your bait. So if you have any questions for me regarding baits, colors, blades, any of that kind of stuff, feel free to shoot me your questions right now. I'll be happy to answer them.
And I'll definitely try to stay off the microphone. I don't know why these past 2 periscopes I've been determined to cover it. Am I covering it?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm holding this different now all of a sudden, so I apologize.
And this whole technique ain't anything fancy. I mean, it's been around forever. It's not this new thing. Everybody's treating this technique, and that's the biggest thing that this really grinds my gears. Everybody wants to treat bass fishing in general as super top secret. I can't let anybody know what I'm doing on the water. It shouldn't be like that, guys. If you have that much fear of somebody finding out what you do, you must have not have found anything really, really that specific, because if it's that easy for them to copy you, come on, guys. Go out there and fish, have fun, share the wealth. If you're catching 20 fish and some guy's catching 2 or 3, tell them what you're using. Help them have a good day. I see it so much on the launch ramp. Pull the skeeter up on the launch ramp. Guys are talking about how they had a horrible day. I've literally... And many of you on Periscope right now that know me have witnessed this. I've opened my rod lockers up, handed a rod over that I'm using, give them the baits that I'm using, tell them don't even worry about it. Here you go. I gave away like 2 bags of Kitex the other day. I gave away underspins out of my own personal stock that I had very minimal of. Very happy to help everybody catch fish.
It's the sport.
You have to. I mean, why are you going to have to sit there and pump your chest? You got to have fun. Share the wealth. Teach.
Dan's all meat is on your mind.
Meat is on my mind. Oh, meat is? Oh, heck yeah. I'm so unbelievable pumped to go to the U.S. Open. Everybody's giving me crap right now on Facebook because they're all like, man, you're fishing AAA. Why don't you fish in the front of the boat? You're selling yourself short. Well, unfortunately, I had to make a choice this past week, and it was a big choice for me. I got a center console saltwater boat last year, okay? Well, I have a 2016 Skeeter over there too in the lot. So I had to make a choice. What do I want to pursue more? And bass fishing is my main love, so I have to sell my center console, get a new truck. I want to fish. I want to fish tournaments. I want to go to meet. And my goal next year, I want to fish out of the front of the boat. I want to do it. I need to do it. It's one of those things. So, yeah, so meat is on my mind. I just want to go crack them. I want to do my best. I want my own fish. I want to catch 5, and I want to help that pro. So, if you have any more questions about what we're talking about tonight, you want to just ask me a random question about something that you have a question of, could be the line, could be rods, shoot it. I'm more than happy to answer anybody's questions.
Dan just commented it's a stepping stone.
It's a big stepping stone. I'm looking forward to it. It's a very tough one because I love saltwater fishing, grew up on fishing saltwater as much as I have freshwater, but I realize that my future's brighter on the freshwater scene. It's the best way to put it right there. But actually, you know what? Since I'm here, I know we wanted to cut this short, but I actually kind of want to show you guys something. I'm a big jig fisherman, fishing saltwater. I love to throw the surface iron. Spend a lot of time doing it. I just didn't know if you guys realized that we do carry the jig. And I really want to do a Periscope talking about throwing the surface iron, picking jigs, picking this, picking that. But we got everything from Taddy in right here. I've got a chance to hand pick a lot. We're still missing some of them that I need to have in the store. Everything from a Taddy A1 Lite. We got Taddy C's. We got 45s. We got Starman 112, Starman 200s, Tatty 4-aughts, Tatty 9s, Tatty A2s. We got them all. Each jig does a different thing. Tatty A1 right here, this is your small bait type jig.
We did have the new Phoenix Axis jig rods. They sold out pretty quick. We have some 908s, I think.
Yeah, we got some more coming. As soon as they become available, it's going to be a little bit.
Yeah.
As soon as they come available, we get some more in there. But yeah, like I said, when you got your jigs right here, this is a whole nother Periscope in itself. And if I get the response, I'll dig into my box of jigs. Yeah. I'll show you what we got going. We got Tatty right here. We got Salis right here. I have a lot of information I can provide to you from picking the jigs to fishing. And I've spent just as much time freshwater fishing as I have on the half-day, three-quarter-day boats in San Diego saltwater fishing. I learned from a lot of good fishermen. I come from the old school with this kind of way of fishing. So if you guys have any questions about that stuff in the future, I need to hear the feedback. If I don't hear the feedback, I'm not going to talk about it. So that's the one thing that you guys need to really let us know right here. If we don't hear anything, we need positive feedback. We may limit this Periscope thing out to once a month if we don't hear the feedback from you guys. You have to tell us what you want to see. Because other than that, we're just kind of talking out here. You got to give us something. So, as always, we thank you for your business, and we look forward to helping you guys become better anglers.